right down the road from me. My other grandchildren are right around in a circle around me. So it's kind of neat.
That's cool.
That's
All right, gentlemen, we got to start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, and welcome to the special edition of the Facebook Zoom Live Showtime TV. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. Well, today is Father's Day, and I have some distinguished guests here. They're all great fathers, and they're going to talk about their experience and talk about being fathers. The topic of discussion is men of color talking about fatherhood. I have Apostle Ivory Hopkins. I have Sharif Green, Louis Santiago, and Fernando Feliciano. Gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to today's program.
thank you.
Thank you, bro.
All right, let's start off with Apostle
Thanks for having
Ivory. We'll start off with Apostle Ivory. You can just introduce yourself. How many children do you have? And I want each one of you to ask the question, what does it mean to be a father? Let's start off with Apostle Ivory.
Well, I'm a father of two, a strong young man and a daughter, and I'm also a grandfather of 5. And what it means to me is to be a strong father and a grandfather. I'm passing on a legacy. I sort of have of a Joseph mentality from the Bible. I want to bless my next generation and deposit into their lives culture, ethics, history, and just overall knowledge of who they are as people, trying to just just speak into their lives, man. And I've been really blessed that they've come to me. I've watched them grow. And I mean, it excites me being a father and a grandfather, guys.
Right. All right, Sharif.
Sharif Green. I'm a father of 2 daughters, 8 and 14. And to me, simply to protect, to provide, and to teach.
Okay, Louis.
So I'm Louis Santiago. I'm a father of 1, and there's 1 on the way. So so excited.
Congrats.
Thank you. What it means to be a father, for me, you can only answer the question if you through the experiences that you've had, right? And so I kind of lay that down because for me to be a father is simply to be engaged in my children's life and just being present in their life. So for me, it's that simple. I think I agree with Sharif, and also I agree on those other principles. But for me, it's more about just making sure I'm present and to be there, intentionally, more important.
All right, Fernando.
Okay, my name is Fernando Feliciano. I'm a father of 3 adult children, 23, 22, and 19. And what fatherhood means to me is to leave an example, a positive example. I always tell my children that, there's going to always be a lesson or a message in anything we do, even when we're not even doing it, is there. So I told them that there's going to be good things you may see, there's going to be bad things we may see, things you're going to learn and not things you're going to do, things you may see me do that you say I'm not doing that, things you see me doing say I'm going to do that. But I do want to what Apostle Ivory said, which is something that for the last couple of months I've been really putting the emphasis on, the footprint in my children's life, is to build a legacy, to create generational wealth, teaching them about financial IQ, as well as how to be a good person, a good human being. Even through some of my mistakes that they've seen, I was able to explain to them, like, this is something that you don't want to follow. But again, just really sitting and putting that footprint in, so leave something behind for them, and then the vice versa, to do that for their children, and then hopefully pass that information on. Knowledge, love, like you said, knowledge of who they are and what it is that as parents and that I want to leave with them. Because you can leave money, and if they don't know how to properly do it, we always want to be better parents, want our kids to do better than what we were. And to me, that means leaving knowledge, leaving some type of mold within them so that they can carry it on. Because you leaving them money, they don't have no idea what to do with it. They're just going to spend it. And a lot of times you got to teach your children how to become financially responsible, as well as a moral system, how to be morally correct to the society within what you believe in. So you're being grounded in what you believe in.
All right, this next question I want to start off with Apostle Ivory, and if anyone else want to chime in, they can. Apostle, I was on social media, I think it was yesterday, and someone posted a picture on Facebook. They posted a picture of a mother, a father, and the children. That was the past. In the present, they have mother with 4 different kids, and father picture wasn't there. So over the years, you've been a man of God, so you talk and counsel a lot of people. Do you think that the family dynamics has changed from maybe back in the 60s and 70s, the 80s, maybe when you had the 2 parents living in a nice home, had their kids, where today, man, I just see too many single mothers. Fernando and I, we grew up as neighbors together as children. We both had single mothers living in their home. So have have the family dynamics changed over the years, where you don't see people married? You see a mother with her kids. Father, you may marry somebody else, or you may not be married. What's your point of view?
My point of view is that circumstances, and I say this in honor of the mothers, I will say thank God for what they've done and gone through. We will never forget that and whatnot. And then in the honor of what we're speaking of today as men, um, there were many reasons as a counselor and leader that I have seen that the family has had the absent father, which which many of us we plan not to be, not to duplicate. You know, when I hear you talk about the mother raising singly, they've done great jobs, but it was what they had to do. One thing about all of our culture, we're going to do what we need to do to make the family work. But the overall best is when the father and the mother can have that knitted family together. I will share something that was on my heart, guys, and I think you will love this. When my daughter was in college, she came to me one day and she said, Dad, she was telling me about a young man that she was planning to date. And as I sat down and talked with her and listened to how he talked to her, how he treated her, I said to her, Jackie, I said, do you know? Now, listen what I'm getting ready to say, brothers. I said, do you know that I was the first man in your life? And she looked at me, oh, Dad. I said, no, 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 no. Now, baby girl, don't miss this jewel of wisdom.
Right.
I was the first man in your life. Because I am there, because I was there to raise her, there to speak into her life, I said, being the first man in your life, look for the qualities that you saw in your father.
Mm.
Do you get it? Here, I know that there are many that have been raising children on their own and they've done the best that they could. But as men right now sitting here, we want to see the father step up and what have you, and be in the life of those children because we are their first. I was the first man in my daughter's life. And I said, how did I speak to you? How did I treat you? How did I embrace you? Did you have to chase me down, or was I there to make sure I covered you and looked out for you? If you can't find that dynamic in anybody that wants you in their life, then they're not the chosen one. So when I speak about the absent father, I have to speak even stronger about the value of the present one. Of the present one. And there are many brethren out here. We're not here to condemn failures in homes or marriages and family. Life happens, but we got to live. But God knows, I believe that the strength of the dynamic of the family today is to bring back a strong mentors, fathers. If not fathers, just mentors. That's necessary and needed. And then I'll back off a nephew and let others speak.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in?
You know, our time in. So, so for the past 10 years, I had a business called I have a business called Father's Defense, and on a daily basis, I hear stories from fathers about how they're being pushed out of their child's lives, be it through like the custody system or child support system. So my view on this I can even admit it may be skewed from what I deal with on a daily basis over the past 10 years. But I seen like, I can even say like some women being praised to raise a child on their own. I was on Facebook the other day, and they actually have an award. They had an award ceremony for single mothers, and I thought, yeah, it's okay. Like, are we celebrating single mothers? Are we celebrating an inability to get along and compromise with the opposite sex? So, like I said, what I deal with on a daily basis, it's kind of like it's a pride in being independent and being strong. And I see a lot of fathers being pushed away, and it could be from a simple mistake. We all make mistakes. I say it's nothing like a father's mistake, because if a father makes one mistake, he's listed as a deadbeat. And you know what I mean? You have a child that makes mistakes, you have mothers that make mistakes, and you rarely hear the phrase deadbeat mother or deadbeat son or deadbeat blah, blah, blah. But a father is always a deadbeat after one mistake. Not always, sometimes after one mistake. So I think like along with, what Brother Ivory was saying, we also have this culture that's being nurtured of I don't need no man. And I think that's very detrimental to the raising of a family.
Mm-hmm. And I like to chime in is that I'll try to make it short and sweet. And Omar, you're right. We did grow up neighbors, and our fathers and our mothers separated, so it was difficult. My father being in and out of my life and very inconsistent with it. So I do understand the aspect of your mother raising you more so than your father. There was a few things that I learned from that immediately is that if I'm going to have a child, and I want to be in that child's life, not just financially, because you already know the court system gets involved, and they want and I went through that process, and I did have to actually kind of fight to see to have some type of visitation for my children, but I did. I said to myself, I wasn't going to be a teenage father. I wasn't. I had my first child at 20. So I was grateful for that. That was something I wanted to do. And when I got when I had my first daughter, and I knew that at that point that, I had a responsibility to be there for her regardless. And it was tough. It was still tough. I felt that I was still a little bit immature, but I was able to be with her. I spent my quality time with her outside of her mother, because we weren't together, which again, does talk about what Brother Ivory says, is a lot of times, we have babies outside of wedlock, or we were in a relationship and it doesn't last. So, and it's a generational thing. So I wanted to break the generational curse a little bit, as they say. My father was inconsistent in my life, and I said don't want to be inconsistent in my children's life, regardless how we may have issues. But I'm glad to this day, I'm still close with my children. Still got some work to do always, but I'm there for them, and they know that. And so yeah, single mothers, kudos to them, but don't make it difficult, as Brother Sharif Green said. Don't make it difficult for the children, because I've been through that process for all my children. My son as well. I had to get, I had to fight for visitation for him. So I was able to get it, but now, so don't make it hard for the brothers.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll just round it out is, I will speak from the experience of, being raised by a single mom. I have two older sisters who are some of the strongest women I know, inclusive of my mom. And then having a brother behind me, when you talk about the family dynamic changing, it's absolutely shifted. I mean, I don't think any of us could sit here and act like it hasn't, whether it's a result of, different systems in place. I mean, there's a bunch of challenges for men in general, especially fathers. And I think that being held to a higher standard is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's whether people feel like it's fair or just whatever case. I do feel, though, as men, I hold men to a very high standard. I believe that we have to be above reproach for the sake of setting an example for our families. And so whether whether my father had learned that lesson or understood that is one thing, or his father, right? Those things that are passed down. I know for me, my goal is to set that example for my family, is to be above reproach, is to look at the line and go, I'm going to try to be better than that. And that's all we can do, because the family dynamic has absolutely changed with more women now in the workforce. Those trends aren't going any other direction.
Right.
You know, the family dynamic of what a father would typically do has absolutely evolved. And you know, we just have to try to be the best we can be individually within our households.
Right. Now, Sharif, going back to your organization, I've interviewed you before in the studio. And I know you work with pretty much, I assume, single fathers. When you work with them, when you go to court with them, is it always the case? I mean, how often do you see cases where the father is granted the children and the mother is the one paying child support? Because I know in most cases, I don't see the father be granted the children. I mean, he may get visitation rights at best, but in terms of having full custody or with the mother with the children, I don't really see that too often. Do you work with cases where the father is actually given custody, or you work with cases where the father is just struggling just to see his or her child?
Mm-hmm. So what's your question? Am I seeing cases where fathers are getting full custody?
Yeah.
Or, oh yeah, definitely.
So what's a two-part question? Or fathers getting full custody? That's A, and then B, are there cases where your fathers are fighting just to get visitation rights?
Right. So yeah. So now, the court system is actually shifting a little bit as
Okay.
to where, judges are at least given shared custody, a lot more easily. And I do have a lot of fathers actually that have full custody of their children due to mothers being some of the mothers being proven unfit or unable to properly care for the child at
Right.
like maybe a certain particular time. Um, so the tide is balancing out a bit, I can say.
Okay.
But still, it's an overwhelming, like, when you involved in the court system, you have to prove that you can be a father. Like, it's like everything is given to a mother and you start at zero, trying to prove that you can be a proper father to this child. Now, you could have been in this child's life for 10 years and then something happened between you and the mom, a divorce, or y'all break up or whatever. And now it's like you're starting from zero to prove that you're able to be in this child's life. And the system is set up very wickedly. Like, if a woman put a PFA on against you, it can halt things. I done dealt with fathers that had like horrible abuse charges or sexual child molestation charges that have been completely false, and there's no repercussion for a false allegation. I mean, it just doesn't. It just doesn't stop, and it's hurtful to see fathers go through that a lot in the process to clear your name, just to be able to see your child for 2 weekends out the month. And I say to judges all the time, like, if I was to do my job for 4 days out the month, I wouldn't be proficient at any job that you gave me to do. So how you expect a father to be a father and raise his child properly when you're only granting him 2 weekends a month? So but yeah, the struggle still continues. Yet I do see the tide changing a little bit.
Sharif.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sharif, I want to say this. It couldn't be a better day to hear your voice of the silent fathers, of the
Thank you.
ones that are not going to get that Happy Father's Day nod, and they deserve it, but it's been stolen from them. Now, you know exactly what I'm saying. That's why listening at you, I thank God that you are in this quorum, giving this voice that you know. Because as a counselor and a minister, I have seen vendettas that were incredible. I've seen where I've actually sat and said that child deserves to see their father. If you withhold that father, you withhold a part of that child's being. I might say this, and I'm not trying to get super religious, but that is my core. But I will say this. I'll never forget when Jesus was baptized in the Jordan. They said the heavens opened and the Spirit descended like a dove. And God the Father said these words. "This is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased." When he said that to him, he gave him identity. He gave him a core sense of value, origin. Every child needs to have that. And I don't believe a divorce or a broken relationship, the child should be penalized by the father being etched out. So I thank you, Sharif, for your voice here this evening.
Thank
I
you.
just want to commend you on that, my man.
Thank
Right. And then we talked about, for one reason or another, the father not being there, whether it be by choice or mother getting mad at him, not letting him see his children one way or the other. Apostle, I want to start off with you. You know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, one of the most touching programs I saw was Will Smith, and his father was played by Ben Vereen. And him and his father were supposed to go out, spend time together, and Ben Vereen didn't keep his promise, and he pretty much left, turned his back on Will. Will then was emotionally upset. Tupac Shakur in this song, Dear Mama, said, my father was gone. You know, he talked about he couldn't shed a tear for his father because his father wasn't there. What effect does it really have on a child, son or daughter, when the father's not there? It's especially the daughter, because you mentioned that she's the first man, if the father's the first man that she comes in contact with. What are your thoughts?
From what I found in my years of counseling, I have seen the dynamic that the absence of a father or the absence of a promise, someone that you're waiting to pick you up at 4 and they don't come, someone that the child is looking for to take them to the carnivore, just spend some time with them, and you don't show up, it tends to cause them to have in their emotional makeup a feeling of absent, that you cannot trust a male to be there. And that dynamic can start shaping how you relate to men, how you relate to relationships, your expectation. Guys, I personally, being an older school dude, it breaks my heart to hear today's some of the modern opinions on what you can expect out of a man, when there are men like us, man, that we're there. We're going to pick them up. And I'm talking about, yeah, you may be separated and didn't make it. You may have a child that you had before you got married, but you do what you can to make that rendezvous when you say, listen, let me share one with you guys, and I'm not going to hold this long. My first wife years ago, her and I separated over simple issues, not getting into that right now. But I fought. Listen to this, Sharif. I had to fight and go to court to see her. I was a man that paid child support, kept trying to visit, and I was purposely shut out. And my daughter, when she was around 17 or 18 years old, one day we were sitting in the house chewing the fat. Now, then I had already fought. The courts made her let me see her.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept it up. When I said I'd be there, I'd be there. And my daughter, Jackie, said something to me, and it stuck to me to this day. We're sitting down talking. She said, Dad, you know what? I said, what, baby girl? What's up? She said, can I tell you something? And tears was in her eyes. She said, you remember when you kept asking to see me and Mom kept saying I was gone? My mom kept saying that we had somewhere to go. She said, Dad, if you hadn't a fault to see me, I would have held that against you. She said, and tears came in her eyes. And she said, but Dad, you fought to see me. That's what made the difference to me. You fought as a father to see me. I say to any father listening at us guys right now, don't you stop fighting to see them, man. You might say, I don't want to put up with this woman's mouth. I'm getting started this, but it's not about her. It's about the history and the fingerprint that you put in that child's life.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm getting a little bit emotional. Y'all just have to.
All right, brother. Speaking it from the heart. Well, listen, I'm gonna actually give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you from both perspectives on the side, because Tupac was obviously me. I thought he was a revolutionary inspiration to our generation. There was messages in between the messages. Dear Mama was one of my favorite songs as well, and I can actually relate to my dad sometimes being faceless and being inconsistent with his visitations. His times where he was supposed to pick us up, my mom got us ready, and he was a no-show, a no call, no show. And you know, not trying to discredit him. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. You know, my dad was, you know, he was fighting a substance abuse, so of course, that plays a role in his thought process and what was going on. So I understand that perspective, and I grew to have a dislike for my dad. I really felt like he could have been there for, especially when my mom was working 2 jobs to make sure we maintained. And Omar, you know some of that, but at the same time, you know, he could have been there for me. So I kind of took those, again, as I mentioned, like I tell my children to this day, there's always lessons when we're together, and things you may see or hear, you know, it grew. So I learned the lesson to say, if I, you know, when I have children, that's something that I'm going to make sure that I'm there in their lives. So now I'm giving you that backstory. Now here's my situation, and because this kind of ties into what Brother Sharif was talking about, as well as you, Apostle Ivory. I actually had to fight for my children. So I want to say this again to you brothers that are out there: don't give up, because again, what happens is the system makes it hard for us. They do. If you put in a petition, sometimes you got to fill out that paperwork, man. You got to sit there and do that. You know, you got to show up for them court dates, because if you give up, they're going to give them all the benefits. And then when you decide to try to turn around, it's going to be twice as hard. I mean, I had to fight in front of, I had to go in front of the judges, you know, take time out of my job. And, you know, I was there, you know, of course, child support was on my back, but that was to me, I can live with that. I took care of that. I did my child support. My important thing is I wanted to be in my children's life. I want to have an influence in their life, and I wanted to dedicate that. I had to fight for visitation. My son's mother tried to relocate without authorization. You can't do that. So I had to go to court to get that all taken care of, so that way my child was not going to be relocated without me being involved or giving in consent, which obviously it didn't wind up working, because I wanted to be in my child's life. But yeah, I mean, I had to fight, you know, and they don't make it easy for us. Glad to hear, based on what you said, Sharif, I'm glad to hear that they are making it a little bit easier for the brothers. But yeah, man, I had to really fight and prove to them that, listen, I'm here. That's my child. I'm here. And I made sure that the courts understood that. And yeah, even though I felt like I could have, you know, I was a little bit more, I was a little immature even at 20, because I didn't have my father in my life to really give me that you know, that strong, stern talking. My mom held it down for me too. But at the same time, I really felt that if I didn't do that, yeah, I think that things would have been different with my children. We had our ups and downs as well, but they, you know, I never talked bad about their moms, but yeah, they put me through some things. And like I said, you know, it made me the man I am, and it made me the father as well, to realize that I'm here now, and I don't have to worry about it now. They're grown. But yeah, I just wanted to just share my thoughts and some of my realities dealing with those things on both sides. My dad not being there, and then me fighting for my children so I can be there.
Yeah, and great perspectives, fellas. I want to hit the question 2 parts. The first part is, you know, my dad was in and out of jail. He was, you know, substance abuse issues, drugs, selling, doing all that. We grew up on the Hill, 3rd and DuPont, Judy Johnson Park. I mean, say if you're from Wilmington, you know, and so with a lot of that, you know, I guess I didn't realize until I got older. Now I'll share my age for the sake of the conversation. I'm 33 years old. I didn't realize the emotional baggage I was carrying with my dad not being around and choosing not to be around. My mom never withheld. He always had the option. My mom never withheld. I didn't realize the emotional baggage until 3 years ago. And I didn't realize the validation in a lot of the work that I've been doing in my life and all the achievements that I've gotten through college. I'm currently a VP at a large financial firm, one of the big 4 financial firms. All these things I was achieving in my life and I was pursuing was seeking validation from other people, because I never got it from my father. And I didn't understand that until 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And I remember moments looking back, and I remember when I was in college and I was taking a bus and I was working 3 jobs. I was getting kicked in the face, pretty much just grinding. And I remember seeing him at my cousin's house and I had anger. And I looked at him and I was like, you could have made this so much easier for me. You could have done that. You could have done those things. So I feel like Will's dad walking out, I felt a lot of that in that episode that you're talking about. I absolutely remember it because I felt that. And I went through those emotions and I looked at my sisters and how my sisters had to work hard, how they pretty much gave up their childhood. And one felt a lot of entitlement because she gave up a lot. The other one didn't really know what to look for in a man because she didn't have an example. So all these things and all this baggage, and I think the fingerprint analogy is perfect for that. It struggled, and I even struggled in corporate America and coming up to figure out who I was and what did I stand for. And so I had a lot of already core values, but I thank God that he brung in people like Uncle Phil. And I do have somebody in my life who I consider my father, and he taught me at 18 how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to follow God, how to do all these things, what it really meant to be a man. And he taught me those things. And so I think it's so important that episode 2 does show, Will runs over to Uncle Phil after and says, why my dad don't love me? Why don't he want, and it's so important that either we get an Uncle Phil, and it may be hard.
Yes.
And a lot of people who grew up in my situation say, I don't know how you let this man, Jerome Stanley, I don't know how you allowed him to teach you and to mold you. It was hard. Right. But we talk, and he is my dad. I call him that all the time. He is my father. And so it's important that, one, you recognize those emotions and those things that you may be carrying in that baggage. And then that's what happens when you don't get that validation from your father. And then the second piece is, it's absolutely okay to have an Uncle Phil. And if you can be that vulnerable to open yourself up to allow somebody to teach you and to mold you, and for us to be there for those, to be Uncle Phils, right. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest gifts you can give.
Go ahead, Sharif.
Yeah, I saw.
You know what's funny is that I'm related to him. I'm related to Will Smith's dad.
Awesome. Amazing.
So he had a birthday party. This was probably like 11 years ago. He had a birthday when Will Smith had that movie called 7 Pounds or something come out.
Okay.
Well, he had a birthday party and people were getting up and like presenting cards or something to him, and like somebody got up and their presentation was like, the title of Will Smith movies was in the presentation, and he had the look of guilt on his face was so heavy. Like he was trying to smile, but he really couldn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? And the person thought that they were being funny and stuff, but he knew that he wasn't really there for Will Smith like he should have been. You know what I mean? And the guilt in his face was just so like.
Omar.
It was crazy.
I want to share something. Omar, I don't know whether you know this or not, but I wrote a book called The Hurt Man. And one of the chapters is called Mentors, the Missing Link. Okay. And in it, I share about how Shaq, after he had achieved the place of notoriety, how his skill and his ability brought him to the forefront, his father was not able to celebrate it. But he did give honor to the link that took the place. I think it was his stepfather. Many times the missing link, the absent father, or the uninvolved father leaves a doorway, and thank God for his grace that he allows others to come up and be mentors, come up and be fathers. I mean, it's not like you can even ask. They just become. Yep. And when you link with that person, as an old school, I'm 64 years old. When you link with that person that can speak that father's blessing, that can give you affirmation, sometimes just to hear your head and heart, because you got the abilities and skills, because God put it in you from the word go. When you were formed in your mother's belly, Sharif, he already had you already lined up for everything you would advocate, do, and bring in the earth. But that validation and mentor, many times mentors that are missing links have to be replaced by those who will come in and be that Uncle Phil, be that one to speak into your life.
Mm-hmm.
This past Tuesday, I interviewed, the topic of the program was mothers who fear for their sons. And I talked to each mother. I asked each mother to talk about the special bond it is between mother and son, because when you have a bond between mother and son, and that's real special. So all four of you gentlemen, you all have daughters. And so fathers have a very special bond with their daughters, daddy's girls. So we'll start off with Fernando, then Louis, Sharif, then Apostle. Talk about the special bond between you and your daughters.
Okay.
While he's overprotective.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know where this is going, man. I love it.
I tell you what, there's a song called by Nas. It's called "Brothers Stuff for Brothers with Daughters." Stuff for Brothers with Daughters. He has actually a remix that says the N word, but we go with the brothers. So and it's really deep. And he talks about him having a child. So he said God messes with it for those who were players growing up. He gives you a daughter, and so I have two. They both a year apart, 97, 98. I was busy, but I definitely have a bond with them. My first daughter, we have a closer bond. My second, we have a closer bond, and then my younger daughter. I'm gonna keep it real with you. My younger daughter, we had some differences, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of that had to do with the mother. I told the mother, never talk bad about each other. Don't tell her things about me that's negative, and I won't tell her things about you. Well, she said some things, so my daughter skewed my daughter's perception. My younger daughter, my older daughter, we bonded from the day we locked eyes. So we're close. We're closer than my younger daughter. But to go back to the mentor sport, what you said, my brother Miguel and my younger daughter are a little bit more closer, and it's okay with me because she's still getting good influence from my brother. And but my older daughter, we're close. But the bonds are, I have they're two different daughters, and our bonds are a little different. Me and my oldest daughter, our bond is really close. We cook, we talk about food, we talk about health, we talk about money. We just really share a lot of different things. We hang out a little bit more, and I instilled a lot into her. Obviously, she being my first, so she's into some of the things. She likes to fish. She's into certain things that we like to do. But I definitely instill a lot in her. And then my younger daughter, she has more of her mother's influence as far as like the things that she likes to do. But they got some influence. They do eat healthy because I'm a plant-based. They actually are plant-based as well. So we don't. So I don't. And the thing is, the influence was there by example. I didn't say, why are you eating this, or stop eating meat. They saw the improvements in me. They saw how it was helping me out, and then they decided to take that example. Like I said, they decided to do. I'm working on my son, but I'm not influencing him. I mean, I'm just gonna let it show by example, not say that he can't eat it. But he's coming along. But my daughters, my first, again, I love being with them. I love sitting down and talking with them. We talked about the boyfriend. I had conversations about that. Because I do want some grandchildren, but I told him, I said, listen, that's on your time, but I do want some grannies, but I'm not rushing it, but they have a different, it's different growing now than when they were younger. So it's different having adult children. So I learned to adjust in it, let them live their life. But when they need me, when they ask me questions, I take a deep breath and I try to give them the best advice as possible, and let them make a decision from there. So, but our bonds are really good.
Awesome.
I'm happy for it. I'm grateful for my daughters and my son.
All right, Sharif. Yeah, you got two daughters as well, right? Yeah. I think you're on mute, Sharif.
Oh, come on.
Okay, couldn't hear you. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah.
What,
Take the audio.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Sharif.
Yeah, your audio is on there. Yes, yeah. Take it off. Hit it again.
Yeah, it's back.
There you go.
It'll take a minute, hopefully.
You're still low. Okay, while we're waiting for Sharif, Apostle, you want to go?
Yes. Having a daughter actually really made me have a deep examination of of my male mentality back in the day to the present moment. And you know, when I saw that baby, man, and held that girl, it changed a lot. It changed my perspective about the mama, about the woman, about all of it. And I became a protector. And and you know what I say, guys, tell the truth and shame three devils. I had to protect my daughter from the mentality I used to have. Conquest and as many women as you can get, then that's what makes me the man.
Mhm.
You don't want that coming at your child. You want coming at your child the best life and the best person that they can be and what have you. And you want and it has changed me. I'll tell you, when you father those children, those daughters and sons, when you look at them, if that don't change you, man, I'm telling you, you got to be a pretty hard dude. It will redefine your mentality. It'll make you a protector, a provider. It'll make you a sacrificer, man. You know, my whole life, even right now, guys, I'm gonna say this and get off. Even as a father, now my son is like 43, my daughter's like 41 and what have you, and they still talk to me. My son today came down, you know, he had to lay some things on me. Pop, I want to just love on you and bless you. Just really touched my heart. My daughter, likewise, as I have shared. But even now, when I look at the female granddaughters, all of my grandchildren, I got 3 girls and 1 grandson, 3 granddaughters. And I'm telling you, that the legacy of that is still going on, guys. I just want them to, it's changed my life. That's just the best way I can tell you. It has just changed. I love it. I'll say this, guys, and get out your way. I tell them I have one superpower. That is the OP. That is the dad and grandpa. That's the superpower I got, man. Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead, I'll let somebody else talk, man.
okay, we'll go to Lou to Sharif.
Sharif.
Yeah, Sharif,
Can't hear you.
still can't hear Sharif. Still can't hear you.
Man.
Okay. While Sharif is still getting things together, you want to go ahead, Lou?
So,
It's a bond with you and your daughter.
well, it's interesting. So I don't have a daughter.
Awesome.
Like that?
However, I have one
Okay.
son.
Uh-huh.
However, this is all foreshadowing what I'm saying is coming.
Okay.
Right. So what we can do is pause that question for next year, and I will absolutely tell you how it changed. I can only imagine at this point. I think there's a couple of critical points that I know as a man has I think there's feelings you don't know you have until things happen. I think the first one is when you get married. The second one is when you have your first child. And then in this case, I had a boy, and I'm going to keep saying I'm speaking to because I'm having a little girl. And then obviously when someone passes, you know, so I can only imagine that there's going to be some new feelings and new emotions that I've never felt before.
Amazing.
I didn't know I have or had. And so I can imagine that's what it's going to be, but we'll pause that question for next year.
Awesome.
All right. Good luck with that, Lou.
That's what I keep hearing.
If Sharif is good, we'll go with Sharif. If not, I'll ask a follow-up question. So you want to go off and come back on again? We'll see if that works.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
You on now? You on now?
You're
We
on
just heard
now.
you.
We heard you.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. All right, you good. Whatever you're doing, don't mess with it.
Don't change it, man.
There you go.
You know, so I know something about my daughters.
Yeah, about your daughters, a special bond. Because you got 2 of them, right?
Yeah, I got 2 of them. So, like, to my daughters, I'm like everything. You know what I mean? So it's nothing like having a daughter. When my daughter's mom was pregnant, everybody's like, "Yo, you want a boy? You want a boy?" I was like, "No, I want a girl." They was like, "Why you want a girl first?" I was like, "So I can be all mushy and do all of that for, you know, as long as ever." So but yeah, my daughters is like, I don't know, they like the way they look at me and and the way they know that I come through, they look at me like I just can never fail them. You know what I mean? And it makes me not to ever want to fail them. You know what I mean? So like, no matter, I'm glad I got a job where, you know, I can show up to whatever she's having at school. The first days of school, I'm there. I take them. I'm so glad that I had that type of flexibility in my life, because like my daughters, they know that I'm going to come through. I remember a real quick story. I remember my baby girl, like 3 years ago, broke one of my mom's figurines or something, and she was like, "My dad will fix it." Like they just know that I'm gonna make everything okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, living with that feeling, it makes you always want to make everything okay. So yeah.
Hey, Lou, I checked this out from Fernanda and Sharif and myself, man. They got a way they can put you in check. That's weird. I mean, it's. Lou, I'm telling you, when you experience it, you'll know it's different than your mama, and it's not quite your wife. But this little person can put you in check, and you be trying to please them. I am. Am I right, Fernando?
I'm ready to give you an example right now. Listen, my daughter checked me at my mom's birthday party. And I was like front and center. So yeah, the thing is, you're right. They definitely give you a different perspective on things. And they're, like I said, my daughters are now, they're adults. But you know, I sometimes I let them lead. Sometimes I take care of it. You know, and the thing is, you know, it's right on. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, she's right on. And I give her kudos, and I let her know, my mama, you were right. You were right. Thank you. I love it. Told you, Dad. I told you. So yeah, you know, it's a different experience, you know, and you know, hopefully you can experience that with the daughter. Because like I said, I had two girls first, then I had my son. I was the opposite of you, Sharif. I wanted the boy first, but I got the girl.
But look, each one of you guys, I'm seeing these strong men, man. Y'all are men's men, and each one of y'all melting, man. You know, Sharif, your sound again, bro. You got it. Each one of you guys, I'm seeing them out. This is what I'm talking about, Lou. Each one of these tough soldiers melted.
Yeah, I sure did, man. For real.
You know, with all that's going on in the world, with these protests, the murders of black men, I want to ask you gentlemen the same questions I asked the ladies. Fernando, you have a son. If you had that talk with your son in terms of what to do if he gets stopped by the police, if any of you, even your daughters, because nowadays, you know, having the Breonna Taylor, I mean, women are being stopped. They're having conversations with police officers as well. So I'm very interested to know, do you have that talk with your daughters as well? Let's start off with Fernando.
Well, I actually have a story. We're coming back from Rock Hall, Maryland, from the fireworks show last year, and the cops was in the back of me, and my son was in the car. We were talking. I was like, "That's the cops in the back of me." He was like, "Oh, okay." So he pulled me over, and so I told my son, I said, "Listen, just, you know, stay calm. Don't ask anything. If he speaks to you, then you can address. But other than that, don't say anything." So he actually had to experience it live on, and he said, "Hey, I just wanted to make sure you're okay. I saw that you swerved a little bit." I told him that, you know, I was putting my GPS on, or something happened with my GPS, and I had to hit a button. So because I'm not familiar with the area, I had Delaware tags, so he knew I wasn't from there. And I said I was just coming back from the fireworks. So he's like, okay. But he didn't ask me for my license and registration or what have you, so I didn't go to that experience. But that was a different conversation where he said, you kind of talked that into existence, that because you said that he's in back you and he's been in back you. I said, well, when you learn to drive, when you haven't been pulled over police, if they're spending a lot of time in back you, a lot of times they're running things or they're looking for things. So, and at that point, I said, you know, it's really about listening and complying, but, you know, things are different now. So, you know, we're able to record. We talked about that as well. I said, listen, if you feel like you want to record, you can. You know, if I felt like you wanted to record, I could have pulled my phone on and let them know that I was recording it. If I'd have had, you know, a certain situation, well, you know, even if you have a registered gun, there's certain precautions that you have to be able to do when in a situation like that. You know, if you actually have a registered gun on your person, there's certain things you need to do to do that. So I had a conversation with him. Obviously, with everything being heightened with the serious situation with the protesters and what happened to George Floyd, those things are being addressed and talked to about. And yeah, that's probably another topic that we're going to have to rediscuss. But we actually, you know, he was actually when I got pulled over, and I just said I was really tentative as I told him. I said, listen, you know, look at their body language as well, but at the same time, listen to what they're saying and answer it as that way, because you don't want to be like, what's the problem? What I do wrong? Or you don't want to become confrontational. You know, at the end of the day, it's you know, if you did something wrong and you know it, own up to it. So we did have that brief conversation, but not anything to the extent to where, you know, what happens if, you know, they are overly aggressive. And that's something that I'm glad you said. It's something that I probably do need to discuss with them moving forward.
Okay, well, I guess his son's too small right now, right? He's a little one right now, right? So I guess
No, he's driving. Actually, I let him drive when I picked him up.
No, I was talking to Lou because he has a little baby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was finished. My fault. You still got some more, June? You still got
No,
some
I'm good. Go ahead. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Louis got a little man, so I guess it's too early right now, right?
Yeah, it's it's too early at this point, you know, but on the topic, I mean, I think it's, you know, it's such a raw topic, you know, at this point, and so many emotions around it. Even as, you know, let me say it this way, there wasn't a lot of times that because I'm not a Black man, I'm not an African American man, I can never say that I fully have understood the fear of that engagement. I know the engagement, but I can't ever say I know it from that perspective of a Black or African American, because I'm not, and there's just never, there is though, you know, as I started to think about what's going on more, what the underlying root of it is, you know, unfortunately, when this president got into office is when I can say I first really then started to understand what it felt like to walk down the street and be fearful of just walking down the street. Because unfortunately, this president has decided to make an attack on people who look like me, Hispanics, Latinos. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I often ask myself, unfortunately, do I need to carry just to go to the gas station? Or what if somebody does say something to my wife who is African American, who's Black, and my son who's mixed? Mm-hmm. How do I start to play those situations out? And could that ever happen? And so I think of it, thank God that I haven't had to deal with it directly on at this point. But, you know, in those cases, I think everything Fernando said is spot on. It's more about you de-escalating the situation and staying as calm as you can. And I keep all my materials and everything I need at the top of you know, my little visor. I ain't got to go nowhere. I ain't got to reach for nothing. I mean, all those same things. I look at their hand. Are they hands on their gun? You know, you still have to have a good sense of awareness. And so if anything, I hope, you know, even in that, while my son is too young to know, hopefully someone who watches this can at least take a step back and go, can I de-escalate it? Can I just go ahead and hear, yes, sir, what do you need? And so I think it's more important we try to take that approach.
Omar,
all the underlying feelings are tough.
I would like to share this to piggyback on what you're saying, Fernando and Louis. Yesterday, the dynamics of the emotional trauma that this caused even an old guy like me. My granddaughter, she has an electric bike, and she was going into one section of the area where we live at. And yes, there is drugs over in that area. There is. You don't need me cleaning it up. Call it what it is. But after she had left, about 10 minutes after she had left, past my house, heading towards that area, 3 cop cars, ambulance, and what have you. I mean, it was just pure. It was on, man. The trauma was so great. My wife says to me, "Honey, get up, grab your keys." And we immediately rushed over to the area to make sure she was safe. And that's the life we live. Now, like I told you, I'm not in the city, the concrete jungle. I'm a country boy in the cornfield. But the lack of trust and the fear of those who should be protecting us is so strong that I live in my section where I live at is rather calm and rather peaceful. I'm well known here. But the fear of the times we live in made me jump in the car with my wife, ride out to where the officers were at to make sure that my granddaughter was okay, because she left out in what I call in the open. She rides an electric bike into an area where they were going. I didn't fear the area. I feared the cars going to it, which were the officers. Now, am I saying all officers are evil or bad? I'm not saying that. But the psychological effect of the times we live in has made me, 64-year-old man, say this is more dangerous than Jim Crow. This is another level altogether. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
You want Simon, Sharif, or?
Well, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes,
Yep.
you're perfect this time. Good.
My daughter, my big girl, 14, she wants to be a lawyer. So what we often do is we have like mock trials. The last one we did was the Philandro Costello one. And this was probably like 3 months ago, but it hurt her so bad when she realized the real outcome of the trial. Even though she thought the cop should have been found guilty of, and it was like a simple murder, like a murder one or something like that, or whatever the lowest one is. And so she has a list and she has to study all of them. The list of like people murdered by the cops. And like yesterday, we celebrated Father's Day yesterday. We went out to dinner, and that was one of the things I asked her. I'm like, what do you think about the George Floyd situation? You know what I mean? And so we had a long discussion about that. It's funny because I'm out here and a cop just pulled up behind me, and I'm just sitting on the ground chilling. But I had a fear, like, make sure your hands are sewn. You know what I mean? If he come walking around here, I thought he was parked back here. He must have just hit the circle and left. But like, it's an automatic fear. I had cops pull guns on me before, you know, for no reason. And there was a post going around Facebook, like, how old were you when you first had a gun pulled on you by the police? And I was 10. And then there was like a lot of stories like that. And like we're like you're a kid, 14, 15 years old, and the cop is pulling the gun on you for no reason. So we had those conversations. Running the mock trials. My baby girl is there to witness them and everything. So I don't know. I just tell them to be respectful. To be honest, I've been treated more fair by cops than I've been treated disfair or unfair by cops. But it's those times where you're treated unfair are very scary. You know, it's very scary.
Right.
Because you know, you feel like they can kill you and get away with it.
Okay, Apostle already answered this question, so I'm going to start off with Sharif, Lou, and Fernando. Prior to having children, and once you had that first child, your child, did that change you as a man? Did you become more responsible? Did you become more humble, more steadfast? Or did you stay the same? Let's start off with Sharif.
Yeah, it definitely changed me. The thing that it changed more is just like financially. You know how they be like, oh, raising a child is expensive and you spend money on this, that, and that. You know, like once I had my first child, like that wasn't true at all, because she wasn't expensive because she was a priority. You know what I mean? My priority wasn't getting them sneaks anymore. My priority had diapers for the month. So like, so yeah, it caused me to organize my life. Even now, you know what I mean? Like I started thinking of like 5 years ago, like I need to make sure I got a Husky life insurance policy. So then it got you thinking like that, and you know, and like really preparing for the future or their future, you know. So yeah, it definitely made me more responsible, if anything.
Yeah, that absolutely. And yeah, having my child definitely changed me as a person, as a human being person, as a believer in God, everything, and increased everything, because I was one of those guys who was out there. Again, you know, I'm a city slicker, so, you know, I dibbled and dabbled. I was out in the streets mixing it up. And when I got the word that I was having a child, it definitely changed my perspective. While my daughter was, while my kid's mother was pregnant with my daughter, I was actually going through a court case that could have landed me 2 years in jail. So, you know, I had to make some growing up decisions. I had to put some money. I had to do what I had to do to make sure that I didn't have that time. And you know, God knew where my heart was in that situation. I don't got to explain that, but God knew where my heart was and how it happened. And he forgave me. And I think that and they saw a change. But yeah, one of my things I pray to God is, please, you know, let me see my child born. Let me be in their life, not being in jail. And he granted me that, because he knew my heart was pure in the situation that happened. Everything worked out financially, where I was able to get a top lawyer to help me, avoid jail time, I should say. I still got reprimanded, obviously. I did pay my dues to society. I paid that back. So it you know, but again, if I didn't have that notion that I wasn't going to see my child born, I could have probably said it would have been a whole different thing. But the minute when I had her, I just, to this day, and you guys that got the daughters, and even your son can remember when you locked eyes with her. I to this day, I can remember locking eyes with my daughter, and when I looked at her, she looked as a baby. That bond was already in my heart, and I said, "This is my baby." And I was my cousin. He lived with, we had our own place at that point. My cousin had said something. He was at a barbershop, and one of the girls, I guess, baby, was bad mouthing me as a father. My cousin said, "Hold up, my cousin's the dad of the year. He has that child every day, every other weekend, even extra, and he takes care of that baby. He doesn't call for help. He don't call his mom. He's feeding her, everything." I bonded with my daughter at a young age, so it definitely changed me as a person. I always wanted to be there for her and be with her and be with my kids moving forward. So it definitely was a blessing. It changed my life. It changed the course of my life. It made me understand that I can't be out here playing around with these streets. So I had to grow up and find a good job. Thank goodness, you know, my mom instilled a work ethic in me. And, you know, my daughters, they all, you know, they're in college now. So is my son, but they also work as well. So, yeah, it definitely changed my point of view in life as everything. They were everything. The reason why I'm not in that direction now is because of my daughters and my children.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
Lou, I want to address something to Lou. There was nothing more fascinating to me watching my son grow up and sitting down watching him. One day he said this to me. It was awesome in my own heart anyway. I was going to help him with some things. I live rather well. I'm doing good, real good. And I had helped him along the way with different things in life. And one day he turned around and he put his hands on my shoulder. He said, Pop, I got this. And it was like, I mean, I was going to, I can take, he said, Pop, I'm a man. He said, I got this. When you get that look from that son, man, and you know that you're no longer talking to a teenager or an undeveloped mind who's thinking like a kid in a man's body, when you get that, Lou, it's going to blow your mind. When you hear him sitting talking to you, Imano,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, it's nothing like it. My son's a truck driver, and often he's real awake. He knows what's going on. He's into things, man. He's got a bright mind. The guy is absolutely bright. But just sometimes just to watch him and look at him and think to myself, not pridefully, but saying, you know what? I stuck with him and he turned out pretty good. I didn't get the manual when he was born because they didn't come out. I don't know where they put that manual at when they get born. Yeah, hey, Sharif, did you get the manual?
I didn't get the manual either.
Well,
brother.
I didn't. Well, Fernando, you didn't get it either. Well, check this out, man. I didn't get that manual, but man, when I watched the finished product of the man he became, when he told me that day, Pop, I got this. Man, you'll never believe how.
Yeah.
What it done to me, bro.
No, yeah, and well, if there's no manual, that's probably then an opportunity. than right my the business spirit in me, right, saying, well, maybe with all this wisdom here, we just go ahead and create a manual.
Oh, you're gonna write your
So,
own
you
chapter,
know,
man. You're gonna write your own chapter in your home, man, in your attitude, in your actions. You're writing the chapter. When you
absolutely.
give them knowledge of what's out there, when you give them how to stand and become, that's writing the manual, man.
Absolutely.
Being there to speak into their life. Oh, wow,
Yeah,
God.
no, it's and I was gonna say for me in terms of how my son has changed me, I say it's two things that probably really now resonate with me more. The first one is patience. My son has absolutely has challenged my level of patience. I thought that one couldn't be. I just didn't. And I'm still challenging that piece because I
Mhm.
just part of my personality. Um, it is granting me to be more patient, and I would say the second thing is he's really helped me think about my time. And now I'm at a place in my life that I want more of my time back, and I want more of my time. I want to have more control of my time. And so, those things really, and even especially with this pandemic, has really allowed me to see how important having that time is, in his life, and, as well as my wife. So I just think those are the things that now I value more than I once did before I had him. Before I had him, it was about me. It was about my career. It was about getting to the next goal, to the next goal, to the next goal. Again, all that emotional stuff. But after I had him, and now I look at him, and I remember we were taking like the newborn pictures. Like 14 days within 14 days of him being born, and I held him, and I couldn't even, and I held him, and I just held him like this, and I couldn't. My wife and I still laugh about it because I couldn't even take the picture because I just kept crying. I just kept crying, like, God, you've allowed this to happen. Like, why am I so deserving of this? And so, I think those are the things that as I look at for me of what's really changed. Your priorities absolutely will shift, and they're going to be different for everybody because we're all at different places. But for me, it was learning the patience, and really having patience, and trying to practice patience, and then just wanting to have more of my time back so that I can reinvest that into him and with him, and being more with him during this time. I mean,
But
just period.
well, talking about time, Fernando, you referred to some of the songs of your culture, of your age group. I never will forget. It was a song called "Cats in the Cradle" by Harry Chapin. And in this song, man, if you ever get the chance to live it, "Cats in the Cradle" by Harry Chapin, the father tells the son that I'm busy right now and I'll get back with you. And when I do, we're going to have a good time then, son. We're really going to have a good time then. Later on in those lyrics, the son grows up to be a man just like his father. And the father now is old and slowed down. Now he wants time with the son. And the son says, I've got bills to pay and things to do, but I'll be getting back to you. And we'll really have a good time then, Dad. We're really going to have a good time then. Take the time now so that they will take the time then. What we
Absolutely.
deposit in them now is prophetically speaking into the future of then and next. It's valuable, fathers. Super valuable, guys. Now I'm gonna shut up, nephew, and let y'all go on, man.
Okay, so we got a couple minutes remaining. I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes each to say any closing words. If you've been involved in the organization, got any events, any words of encouragement, anything you want to do. Let's start off with Lou, Sharif, and then Fernando. So let's start off with Louis first.
Yeah, I mean, Omar, first, I think it's important to just thank you for just extending the invite. A couple years ago, you had reached out to me. You said, "Hey, I want to do this," and I was like, "Hey, I can't right now," but I appreciate you reaching out again, and willingness to pull up and have a conversation with 4 other wonderful men we're all trying to, to make the next generation better. So I just really, with gratitude, appreciate the opportunity, on my end, and just continue to thank you. So that's really all I have.
Okay. All right, Sharif.
Man, it's been like 20 years, man. And I really do appreciate your platform, and you let me be a part of your platform, whether we on TV or we doing this right here. Call me. I always come through. If you need anything, make sure you holler at me. And thanks for this. Even this is giving us a voice. And I just want you to know I really appreciate you. Sharif Green, Father's Defense, 215-253-9580.
All right. All right, Fernando.
All right. Again, I just want to express my gratitude as well. Thanks for having me on the show. Omar, we go back like, Jackson Cornflakes. We old school. Grew up together and lived next door. So we saw a lot of our, a lot of what was going on in our families and what have you. I'm again grateful. Just you guys, this is Father's Day, and even though I guess the nation recognizes, to me, Father's Day should be every day. You should always, as a father, should be reaching out to your children. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. A lot of times you have parents who just say, "Well, I don't hear from them. They should hear from me." Sometimes you just got to reach out and just to check up on them and see how they're doing. Set the example so that they can give it back to you. As Apostle Ivory said, sometimes whatever you instill in them is going to come back to you. So I was talking to my daughter. Of course, she called me this morning. Happy Father's Day. We actually had a good conversation. And I'm like, hey, I want to start, I know you guys got your lives too, but we need to have some, just us three, I was, my two daughters and my son and myself, let's go out and do some things. Regardless of this pandemic, it could be something as simple as just going fishing or something. So we putting those things in motion as well. And just having conversations like that. Make sure you have conversations with your children about things that's going to better them, that could bet, and also use you as an example. Well, I tried this, and, see how it works for me. Maybe something you can look into, but always try to be an inspiration. Show them, things that you're doing that's positive in your life. Share it with them as well. They may take it, they may not, but they'll understand that this is stuff that you're presenting to them. And then, of course, listen. I learned to be a better listener than I am a talker with my children. At first, I was more of a talker, but I said, I started listening to them and understanding. Because when you hear this, say, well, Dad, you don't understand this, or you're not understanding me, then you got to be like, I have to back up and just listen, really get where she's coming from, and then try to, offer the advice that she's wanting. Or sometimes you just need to listen, or ask them, what you're about to ask me, do you just want me to listen? Do you want me to comment? Do you want me to offer you a solution? Let them tell you what it is, and then be that whatever it is for them. It's times when my daughter just was upset about a situation, and she needed to vent. I said, I'll listen. I won't give no opinion. Just talk to it. Say it. Tell me what it is. So, and making the transition. Now I'll say this, now I'm going. So, fathers, when you have children, of course, you raise your children from kids to teenagers to adults. You have to also change with the times. You can't try to father your adult child your child who's an adult as they were a teenager or younger. I tried that and I failed miserably, but I learned through trial and error with it, understanding that now they're adult children and I have to give them their space, let them make some decisions on their own. And, do that actually as a teenager as well. When they're teenagers, sometimes they have to make some advice, but we, make sure you get those talks in too. But, boys, even girls now, you got girls talking to girls. So I gave them all different type of birds and bees with the bees. I gave them all that. Because, they're coming from all angles now. Even my son, listen, you got guys that might try to come up to you like a girl. So, you just have to have these conversations. And nothing's wrong with it, but you got to be able to, ask them certain things. But at the same time, let them grow into themselves. So that's my advice for you guys. And again, appreciate you having me on, Omar.
No problem. Last but not least, Apostle, it's all you, man.
What I want to say first, I'm going to say to Louis, Sharif, and Fernando, I'm going to give you one of the greatest compliments a person can give you. I hope to meet you guys again. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure, guys. And to my nephew, Omar, I want to tell you as an uncle, I am proud of you. I am proud of how You have been blessed in who you have become. Um, I have followed your work. You didn't even know your uncle was even peering into what you've been doing. And when you inboxed me and asked for me to be a part of this panel, it was such a compliment. You keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you. That's what I want to just say. I'm going to close with that. Your old school Uncle Ivory is proud of you, man. Keep doing what you're doing and be who you are. You've become a good man, and God is making you a great man. Keep him first. Keep your heart pure and do what you feel is right for your destiny, and you'll be okay, nephew. Love you, man.
I love you all. Thanks again, guys. I may be calling you guys in the future for some other shows, but happy Father's Day to all you guys. And once again, I'll see you guys whenever.
Happy Father's Day, gentlemen.
All right. God bless you guys. Happy Father's Day to you all. God bless you now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Live in love. Live in love.
All right.